Imagine waking up one day to discover that we're not alone. No, I'm not talking about aliens, at least not yet. I'm talking about a message so large we need to climb to the heavens to understand it. A message left over 2 millennia ago, waiting patiently in the desert to be discovered. In southern Peru, under the scorching sun of the Nazca Desert, there's something that defies all our understanding of ancient civilizations. Something so extraordinary, so perfectly executed, that it still divides opinions among the world's greatest experts. And today, my friends, we're going to dive into one of humanity's greatest mysteries. A story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about our ancestors. Before revealing this mystery, I need to ask you some questions. How did a civilization that couldn't fly manage to create works of art that only make sense when viewed from the sky? How did a people considered primitive manage to create drawings so precise that even with our modern technology we would have difficulty reproducing them? And the question that won't go away: who were these messages for? We're talking about the Nazca Lines, a set of more than 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and dozens of animal drawings spread across an area equivalent to 450 football fields. Yes, you heard that right, 450 football fields. But the most impressive thing isn't the size, it's the precision. Some of these lines are so straight that even using modern equipment it would be difficult to match them. And the drawings, well, they're so perfect they look like they were made by a contemporary artist. Except they're over 2,000 years old. Let's situate you in this incredible story. 400 kilometers from Lima, Peru's capital, there's a region that seems to have come straight out of a science fiction movie. The Nazca Desert is one of the most arid places on the planet. Rain is so rare that decades can pass without a single drop of water, and it was exactly this characteristic that allowed this archaeological treasure to survive for so long. The dry climate and absence of strong winds preserved these mysterious marks for over 2 millennia. But what makes this place truly special isn't what you see when you're on the ground. In fact, if you're walking through the desert, you'll only see seemingly meaningless lines, random scratches in the soil. It's when you rise to the heavens that the magic happens. From above, those apparently meaningless scratches transform into impressive drawings. A condor with majestic wings, a spider with precise anatomical details, a monkey with a spiral tail, and dozens of other figures that seem to have been drawn by a giant hand. And here's the part that will keep you awake tonight. These drawings were made in an era when humans hadn't even dreamed of flying. That's right. They created art to be viewed from the sky in an era when no one could reach the skies. The story of the discovery of the Nazca Lines is as fascinating as the drawings themselves. In 1927, archaeologist Toribio Mejia Zespe was doing what seemed to be just another ordinary day of work in the Peruvian desert. As he walked among the hills, he noticed something strange on the ground, lines that appeared to have been made by human hands. But the real eureka moment happened a few years later, when commercial aviation began to cross the skies of Peru. Passengers started reporting something extraordinary. They saw giant figures on the ground. It was as if the desert held a secret art gallery, visible only to those who flew. That's when a German teacher named Maria Reiche entered the scene. And here, my friends, begins one of the most impressive stories of dedication to science. Maria spent 50 years, yes, half a century, studying the lines. She lived in the desert, slept in a simple shack, and dedicated every moment of her life to unraveling this mystery. She measured the lines with measuring tapes, made complex calculations, and even swept the desert to preserve the drawings. The locals called her the Lady of the Desert, and many thought she had gone mad. But Maria knew she was facing something extraordinary. And you know what's even more incredible? The more she studied, the more mysteries she found. For example, she discovered that many of the lines aligned perfectly with astronomical events. Coincidence? Well, keep watching. Now, let's talk about how these lines were made, because this will blow your mind. The soil of the Nazca Desert has a unique characteristic. It's covered with dark stones. But underneath there's a layer of lighter soil. The Nazca people discovered that if they removed the upper layer of stones, they would create a natural contrast. light lines on a dark background. Brilliant, isn't it? But wait, this is just the beginning. To make the straight lines, they used ropes and stakes, something like a giant compass. But here's the part that drives scientists crazy. Some of these lines extend for kilometers, maintaining impressive precision. Even with GPS and modern technology, it would be a challenge to do something like this. And the animal drawings? Oh, these are even more impressive. Imagine creating a 90-meter figure without being able to see the final result. It's like trying to draw a perfect portrait using only a brush the size of a lamppost. Seems impossible, doesn't it? Some archaeologists suggest that they may have used smaller drawings as models and then enlarged them using a grid system. But even so, the precision is too surprising. How did they manage to maintain perfect proportions without seeing the final result from above? And there's more. Recently, scientists discovered that some of the figures are so precise that they include anatomical details that were only discovered by modern science centuries later. Shall we take a tour of Nazca's most impressive drawings? Get ready, because each one is more incredible than the other. We start with the hummingbird, one of the most famous figures. With 96 meters from one wingtip to the other, this bird is so well drawn that ornithologists can identify specific characteristics of the species. The thin beak, the detailed wings, the body position, everything perfectly proportional. Then we have the spider, one of the most mysterious drawings. At 46 meters long, it represents a specific species that only exists in the Amazon, miles away. How did the Nazca people know this species in such detail? The monkey is considered the masterpiece of Nazca. With 90 meters in length and a fascinating spiral tail, it holds something in its hands that still intrigues researchers to this day. Some say it's a fruit, others believe it to be an astronomical symbol. We also have the mysterious astronaut, a humanoid figure with what appears to be a helmet or mask. This particular drawing has fueled many theories, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And we can't forget the geometric lines. Some extend for kilometers in a perfectly straight line, others form gigantic trapezoids and triangles. The precision is so impressive that when measured with modern equipment, they show minimal margin of error. Now we come to the part everyone has been waiting for. Why? Why would an ancient civilization dedicate so much effort to create something they couldn't even see in its entirety? The first serious theory came from our now familiar Maria Reiche. After decades of study, she proposed that the lines formed a gigantic astronomical calendar. And wouldn't you know it, she was partly right. Scientists confirmed that several lines align perfectly with the sunrise during solstices. Just imagine, you have a civilization that depends on agriculture to survive. Knowing exactly when to plant and when to harvest is a matter of life and death. So they create an astronomical calendar so large that it can't be easily altered or destroyed. Brilliant, isn't it? But archaeologist Johann Reinhard brought another fascinating perspective. He discovered that many of the lines point directly to ancient water sources. In a desert where water is more precious than gold, this makes a lot of sense. The lines would be like a giant map of water resources. And there's more. Anthropologists studying ancient Peruvian cultures discovered that many indigenous peoples believed that the mountains were inhabited by powerful spirits. The lines could be a form of communication with these spirits, a kind of primitive cosmic antenna. A recent discovery using drones and artificial intelligence revealed more than 140 new drawings in 2019. And you know what's most interesting? Many of them are warriors. This opened up a new theory. The lines could be a way of marking territory or telling stories of great battles. And now we come to the most controversial and, let's admit, most fascinating theory of all. In 1968, an author named Erich von Daniken published a book that shook the world, Chariots of the Gods. He proposed something revolutionary. What if the Nazca Lines were actually landing strips for visitors from space? Before you roll your eyes, let's look at some intriguing facts. First, we have that figure known as the astronaut, a humanoid being with something that looks very much like a space helmet. Coincidence? Maybe. Then we have the kilometer-long straight lines, wide and flat enough for an aircraft to land. And many of the geometric figures look very similar to modern navigation systems. Proponents of this theory also point to ancient texts from the peoples of the region that speak of gods who came from the sky. And it's not just the Nazca. Ancient civilizations around the world have similar stories. Of course, the scientific community strongly rejects this theory, but It raises an interesting question. Why did so many ancient civilizations around the world have this obsession with the sky? Whatever the truth behind the Nazca Lines, one thing is certain, they show us that our ancestors were much more sophisticated than we imagine. Think about it. Without computers, without GPS, without drones, they created gigantic works of art with mathematical precision. They developed engineering techniques that have withstood the test of time for over 2 millennia. Today, the Nazca Lines continue to be studied. New technologies reveal previously invisible details, and each discovery brings more questions than answers. And perhaps this is the true gift that the Nazca people left us. Not just drawings in the desert, but an eternal reminder that human knowledge is much older and deeper than we imagine. So what do you think? Are the Nazca Lines an astronomical calendar, a map of water resources, or something even more mysterious? Leave your theory in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about this fascinating mystery. If you enjoyed this journey into the inexplicable, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell too, because there's much more mystery to come. And if you know someone who loves archaeology or mysterious theories, share this video with them. Who knows, together we might be able to unravel this enigma. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore another fascinating mystery of ancient history. Until then,